Welcome to Rookie Aspirant. Today, we're bringing you a really comprehensive chronological explainer of a totally defining military engagement, Operation Sindoor. Now, you might be wondering, why does this matter to us right now? Well, because the events of May 2025 completely reshaped the security dynamics of the entire Indian subcontinent. In this explainer, we're going to skip the hearsay and look strictly at the hard data, the actual satellite imagery, and the official reports to understand exactly how this rapid-fire conflict unfolded.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the Pahalgam trigger, move right into tactical planning and the aerial war, analyze the satellite damage and technology used, and then finally wrap up with the ceasefire and strategic shift.
Section 1. The Pahalgam attack trigger. Let's look at the inciting incident.
Okay, the absolutely crucial thing to remember here is this number, 26. On April 22, 2025, 26 civilians were tragically killed in a terror attack at the tourist resort of Pahalgam. Now, this attack was linked to the Resistance Front, which, as we know, is an offshoot of Lashkar-e-Taiba. While Pakistan officially claimed this was a false flag operation orchestrated by India, for New Delhi this crossed a massive, undeniable red line. The tensions just skyrocketed immediately.
Section 2. Planning Operation Sindoor. Let's see how that trigger translated into a really rapid military response. The gestation period for this operation was incredibly accelerated. Literally the next day, between April 23rd and 24th, India's armed forces and intelligence agencies were already developing distinct response scenarios. And they weren't just planning on paper. Between April 26th and 28th, they were actively running counter-drone and air defense exercises, completely anticipating a retaliation. By April 29th, tactical planning was fully underway, targeting 9 specific camps, and the final strike date was locked in for May 5th. They were prepping for serious escalation, right up to conventional warfare.
Section 3. The aerial and drone war. Those preparations very quickly escalated into a cross-border conflict.
Just look at the sheer geographical scale of this on the map. It is absolutely massive. Between May 9th and 10th, we saw widespread engagement stretching all along the line of control and the international border. I'm talking from Baramulla and Srinagar way up in the north, all the way down to Bhuj and Karachi in the south. So this wasn't just some isolated border skirmish, it was a massively distributed, highly active theater of operations.
Zooming in a bit on May 8th, Pakistan actually attempted to strike 14 different military targets deep within India. We're talking places like Jammu, Pathankot, and Amritsar, using a massive swarm of drones and missiles. But here's the kicker. India reported that its integrated counter-UAS grid and air defense system stepped up and completely neutralized every single one of these 14 attempts, 100% success rate on defense.
Section 4. Satellite Damage Assessment. Because in modern warfare, objective visual evidence from space tells the real story. Let's look at the hard evidence. Maxar satellite imagery reveals the true extent of the Indian retaliatory strikes. At Sindoor Air Base, you can see severe structural damage right on the main building, debris scattered everywhere, and a huge burn scar right next to it. And over at the Rahim Yar Khan runway, there's a visually confirmed 6-meter-wide crater punched straight through the subgrade layer. To put that into perspective, that single crater makes the entire tarmac completely unusable for military aircraft. And the Kuala space imagery tells a really similar story. Over at Jacobabad Air Base, precision munition impacts caused massive roof destruction to the main hangar, plus secondary damage to the ATC building. Then, looking at Sargodha Air Base, you can see 2 very distinct pinpoint craters placed directly on the runway intersections. The accuracy here is just staggering. Finally, if we look at the pre- and post-strike imagery at Noor Khan, it shows the total destruction of at least 2 military support trucks parked right next to the facility. And at Bellary, the hangar roof shows these really clear penetrating munition impact points and significant structural collapse. The objective evidence right here is undeniable. The infrastructure took incredibly heavy, precise hits. Section 5. Technology and Combat Effectiveness. Let's break down the specific hardware that actually dictated this outcome. So, both nations brought a really complex mix of indigenous and foreign tech to the fight. India deployed their battle-proven systems like the Pechora alongside their very own homegrown Akash air defense system, which official reports claim performed with just stellar accuracy. Pakistan, on the other hand, was utilizing Chinese-origin PL-15 missiles and Turkish Shiha UAVs. But what's really fascinating here is India's official statements emphasizing how their Atmanirbhar, their proudly self-reliant innovation, was able to effectively bypass and jam those foreign-supplied systems used by Pakistan.
Now, one specific technology cited as an absolute game-changer was the loitering munition. If you aren't familiar, basically think of it as a kamikaze drone. It's designed to just hover or circle over a battlefield, hunting for high-value targets, like, say, an active enemy radar system, and then striking it with pinpoint accuracy. India utilized these extensively to systematically dismantle Pakistani air defense infrastructure, completely avoiding the need to risk the lives of their own pilots.
So, when the dust finally settled, the narratives of victory were, as you'd expect, fiercely contested by both sides. But let's look objectively at the data from the Center for History and Military Foresight. While Pakistan claimed to have destroyed an Indian F-16 and a Mirage, the visually documented, verified reality on the ground shows a massive impact on Pakistan's forces. The hard data shows 9 or 10 Pakistani combat aircraft destroyed or shot down, an Area-I early warning aircraft destroyed, and 2 highly advanced HQ-9B or HQ-16 air defense batteries completely neutralized. The contrast between claimed success and visually documented reality is pretty stark.
Section 6. The ceasefire and aftermath. Facing mounting losses, diplomatic intervention brought a very sudden halt to the fighting.
On May 10th, after just a few days of this intense, high-tech combat, a rapid ceasefire was brokered. Pressured by mounting losses on the ground and, of course, swift diplomatic intervention from the US and others, the Pakistani DGMO initiated contact with the Indian GGMO. They agreed to a full, immediate stoppage of all firing across land, air, and sea from 1700 hours IST. Just like that, the active combat was over.
Which really leaves us with a massive, massive geopolitical question. For decades, the presence of nuclear weapons was thought to provide this sort of sanctuary, supposedly preventing large-scale conventional retaliation against cross-border terrorism. But does Operation Sindoor prove that this red line has permanently shifted? Can high-tech, precise, conventional military operations now successfully bypass that nuclear deterrent altogether? It's an incredible paradigm shift in global military strategy, and it's something we are going to be watching very closely. Subscribe for more such content.